The 2022 AFL season has been an exciting one so far, and a season which has seen a lot of movement within each of the 18 teams, some breaking stigmas and succeeding against doubt, and some showing a lack of determination in letting down their fans. In an ever-changing league, a team's ability to adapt and evolve is becoming more important to their overall success. In today's video, I'll go through some of the teams which have experienced the biggest movements on the AFL ladder from last year to now, and break down what has made these teams triumph or fail in their endeavours this season. Before we get into the video, only about 2% of you guys are actually subscribed, so I'd appreciate it if you'd press that button down below today. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first winner of the season is the Freo Dockers. Last year they finished in the 11th spot on the ladder in comparison to the 3rd position they currently find themselves in. A team who has capitalised on potential from young talent. The process of a rebuild in the past couple of years has been kind to Freo and its fans. Injuries to key players such as Nat Fyfe, Michael Walters and Rory Lobb managed to hold the team back last year, as Freo was ranked as the worst pressure team in the whole AFL. The team was also severely inaccurate, only reaching the 100-point mark once in the season. But even with these setbacks, the Dockers developed young talent such as Andrew Brayshaw, Sean Darcy and Caleb Sarong. The team as a whole had underachieved in years prior, underperforming since a minor premiership run in 2015. But this all changed in the 2022 season, in Justin Longmuir's 3rd year of coaching. So what changed? Fremantle went from being the side with the worst scores from turnover differential at -13.8 to now being the best in the comp at +35.7. They have also improved in forward half intercepts, scores from those intercepts, and tackles inside 50, showing a real increase in the pressure they put into each game. Freo has also really developed as a whole team by utilising players who have stepped up in their role, such as Michael Frederick, Travis Collier, Matt Taberner and Lockie Schultz. As a relatively new coach, it's quite impressive that what Justin Longmuir has achieved in his short stint at the club. He's been quoted as saying, "I think that's been the biggest difference in our game this year, is the constant pressure we're bringing onto the opposition. It's an area of the game we put a lot of work in over the pre-season, and that's allowing us to create opportunities closer to goal, and before the opposition is able to get set." That summarises the changes that were made to transform this Freo team. Real increases in pressure and play development have added up to a winning formula, one that has seen great success in 2022, and caused them to be the first side to take down an undefeated Melbourne outfit. Will this translate to final successes? We'll have to wait and see, but with each game the Dockers play, the more excited I am to see their final form. A loser of the 2022 season so far is Port Adelaide. From a prelim final loss to fighting for a final spot, the narrative at Port this year sure changed after they lost their first 5 games in a row and continued to disappoint fans in comparison to high expectations set before the season began. The performance of stars such as the ageing Travis Boak and 2021 Brownlow medalist Ollie Wines has been below par, and injuries to players such as Scott Lysette and Orazio Fantasia, along with Charlie Dixon, have also hurt the Power's chances. In recent memory, Port have always been viewed as contenders, and it's been a jarring adjustment to realise they sit in the 12th spot on the ladder currently. This run-off poor form has put Ken Hinkley under massive pressure as a long-standing coach of the team. Last year, Port finished in 2nd on the ladder and were a lot of people's pick to win over the Doggies and book a spot in the grand final. Aliir hasn't been as good as well as most of the team, him experiencing a decline in defensive numbers. The team as a whole is conceding 72 points on 48.1 inside 50s a game, compared to 67 points on 47 inside 50s last season. Teams have found it vastly easier to score against the side, especially with the use of direct ball movement. Offensive woes have also continued, with their points per game decreasing by 7 and marks per game by 4. After the first 5 games, there have been some positives to draw from Port's play though, with development of young stars Connor Rozee, Mitch Georgiades, Dan Houston and Todd Marshall proving bright spots for the unit. At the time of recording, they beat Sydney and are close to moving up on the ladder. It's possible that they make finals, but I believe this team is a far cry of the one that suited up in the finals last year, and they sure have regressed in one way or another. Carlton is another team that turned it around after a lacklustre 2021 season. Most fans always thought that the Blues had finals level potential, but it took a change in culture and coaching to truly capitalise on this opportunity. 2021 proved the 8th consecutive season finishing outside the top 8 for the Baggers, and despite players such as Jacob Wiedering and Liam Jones playing at an all-Australian level, the Blues continue to struggle. They managed to allow the 2nd most points and allowed teams to score in runs at will. Other events such as under-par performances from co-captain Patrick Cripps and disappointing form of $800,000 recruit Zach Williams honed in a troubling culture within fans of the club. One thing that went their way was the sight of both Sam Walsh and Jacob Wiedering truly developing as stars within the comp. Most of their issues have been resolved as a team, as Carlton have risen from 13th last year to 4th at the recording of this video. The return of key players Charlie Curnow and Mitch McGovern, along with the addition of George Hewitt and Adam Chera, is proving a winning formula that has shook the label of a fluky team. Paddy Cripps has revitalised his role as one of the best players in the league, and players Sam Doherty and Adam Sard have been crucial in rebounding the ball out of the defensive half. Carlton have truly transformed as a unit and have every right to be viewed as a team which will most likely play finals. Essendon have been in limbo for the past couple of years, but ended the 2021 season on a positive note, earning a finals berth. With promising players such as Darcy Parish and Zach Merritt, the future was looking bright for the Bombers, but they now find themselves outside the 8, located at the 16th position on the ladder, a far cry from years prior. Drops in most major statistical categories were seen, with the average in points per game decreasing from 88 to 71, and points conceded raising from 81 to 97 per game. A team that was renowned for midfield dominance and pressure put on opponents, the Bombers have allowed opposition to pick them apart for lacking in these areas. Another problem can be observed in the troubles Essendon have experienced rebounding the ball from the defensive half to inside 50, along with keeping the ball inside their attacking half. Not all blame can be placed directly on the club though, as injuries have also plagued the side. Jake Stringer has missed significant time this year but has been impactful when playing, and the retirement of Anthony McDonald-Tipungwuti early this year did certainly not help. Dylan Shill has not been in the greatest form, and players such as Devon Smith have been simply underperforming. Former AFL player Josh Jenkins noted in a radio interview that Essendon's defenders are undersized and lack depth at key positions. There are positives to draw from this all, of course. 2-metre Peter Wright has looked promising, along with young prospect Harrison Jones. The Bombers looked threatening on Friday night as they dispatched a finals-bound Saints team with relative ease. That Essendon team did not look like they should be 16th on the ladder. Not to worry, Bombers fans, there is still hope and still time to develop before next season. Collingwood truly disappointed fans last year, finishing one spot above the eventual Wooden Spooners North Melbourne. Fast forward 8 months or so, and the Magpies have pulled off one of the more improbable team turnarounds in recent memory. Last year, what can only be described as a turbulent season led to the Magpies' worst ladder position in club history. The club appeared to be the biggest loser of the 2021 season overall. This was all the culmination of the loss of Jaden Stevenson and Adam Treloar, and also some troubles in managing contracts of players and their salary cap. There were some things that went the club's way, such as the development of both Jack Crisp and Darcy Moore as key pillars within their midfield and backline. Off-season moves such as the pickup of new coach Craig McRae and drafting of eventual superstar Nick Dacos all helped the Magpies to make a splash in the 2022 season. This year, the Magpies have been as good as any other team at their peak, picking off top sides such as Melbourne, Carlton, Freo and St Kilda in great contests. The emergence of Nick Dacos was a surprise to no one, and youthful talents such as Jack Ginnivan and Ollie Henry have added a new dynamic to the team. The new spark that is present at the club has propelled them to within a finals berth, and has fans excited of what's next for one of the largest clubs in the game. No AFL fans would have thought the Eagles would be the major contenders for the Wooden Spoon this year. After a decent 2021 and maintaining a roster which features great star power, the 2022 season just has not gone to plan in any way for West Coast. The Eagles last year showed flashes of that 2018 premiership side at times, but were overall mediocre in comparison to the seasons past, missing out on a finals place. This season they have truly struggled with COVID, injuries and general poor play. They've experienced 8 losses by 50 points or more in very un-West Coast-like performances. Injuries to Nick Natanui, Dom Sheed and Elliot Yeo have not helped, along with a COVID debacle earlier in the year, where it seemed like they're up to 10 ins and outs each week. But on paper, you would still think that West Coast would be better with their roster and coach, with Jack Darling, Jeremy McGovern, Tim Kelly, Josh Kennedy and Shannon Hearn all playing over 8 games so far this year. They're almost dead last in most statistical categories, placing 17th in goals kicked, hitouts, marks inside 50 and contested possessions. Unlike the majority of teams near the bottom end of the ladder, the Eagles aren't in a rebuild, and that is really worrying. The average age of the team is 26, and with ageing stars and a lack of young talent at a basic level, West Coast is going to have to figure something out, or they'll just end up suffering significantly again next season. Well, that wraps up my list for the winners and losers of the 2022 AFL season so far. Thank you guys for watching. Obviously none of these evaluations are set in stone. Teams may move up and teams may drop down. That's what makes the AFL so interesting, especially entering the second half of the season. Remember to leave your opinions down below and also some ideas for future videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe for future sports field content. Have a good one, and cheers.